Brought to you by Penguin.
Downfall. Written by me, Mark Galeotti, and Anna Arutunyan. And read by me, Mark Galeotti. A note from the authors. This is a book about one man, but at the same time about the world he inhabited and, in his own ways, shaped. Evgeny Prigozhin first acquired infamy for the overhyped role of his trolls during the 2016 US presidential election, then for his Wagner mercenary army. When we first started considering this project, neither of us was sure that he, as a person, deserved a book, especially as so much about his life routines and family remained a closely, even ferociously guarded secret. The story goes, for example, that one journalist who contacted Prigozhin's press representatives because she wished to write a fairly vanilla day-in-the-life story about his eldest daughter, Polina, was told first that if she tried, they would get her sacked, then that her emails would be hacked and her secrets leaked, and finally, when she had the temerity to suggest that hers was really not that intrusive a suggestion, that her car would be run off the road and that she would be lucky not to be raped. She dropped the idea. However, our feeling was that he represented an archetype of the Putin regime, whom we could use to explore some of our respective interests. Anna has long been tracking the way it outsources not just catering and cleaning, but statecraft and warfare. Having run into Russian mercenaries and militias in the undeclared war in the Donbass since it began in 2014, and watched how various tales could begin to wag the Kremlin dog, you can read more about this in her Hybrid Warriors, she thought that Prigozhin's career, through businessman to trollmaster to mercenary entrepreneur, seemed a perfect example. This overlaps heavily with my view of Putin's Russia, as explored in my We Need to Talk About Putin, as a modern state ruled by a medieval court, in which a class of jealous adhocrats compete for the monarch's favour, desperately aware of how precarious their position can be. Our notion, then, was that a book about Prigozhin could just as much be about all those other adhocrats and the system they had to navigate. Of course, fate will have its fun with authors, and less than a month after we signed our contract to write the book, Prigozhin staged his abortive June 2023 mutiny, and then, exactly 2 months later, died in a plane crash that we can pretty confidently consider a Kremlin hit. It made the writing process a little more frantic than it might otherwise have been, but at least it saved us having to write one of those final chapters full of conditionalities and speculations. More to the point, it confirmed our belief that this system, having successfully kept Putin directly and indirectly in power for 23 years, is now showing its age. It depended on economic expansion to keep elites and masses bought off, and a monarch with the energy and attention to keep on top of the internecine conflicts in his court. With Russia now locked in a vicious and debilitating war in Ukraine, with its economy increasingly consumed by that conflict, and with a septuagenarian Putin seeming increasingly detached from court and country alike, the strains and stresses are showing. And Prigozhin's mutiny was as much a symptom of this crisis as the desperate gamble of one man who felt he had nothing to lose. Nor just a symptom, it has also exacerbated it, demonstrating the moral bankruptcy of the Kremlin, the new Tsar's own limitations, and the degree to which the security forces, once assumed to be the backstop of the system, are growing disenchanted. A thug, an opportunist, a profiteer and a master of war criminals, Prigozhin may yet go down in history as the man who kicked the pebble that eventually became the rockfall which buried Putin's regime. We have to thank Robin Drury at Ebury, not just for taking on the book in the first place, but recognising that Prigozhin's death did not mean the end of this book's relevance. Beyond that, there are particular individuals whose help and work we wish to acknowledge, such as the assiduous researchers of Wagner, John Lechner and Jack Margolin, and the former mercenary Marat Gabidulin. Perhaps even more so the intrepid Russian journalists who dared to dig into Prigozhin's life and crimes despite the very real risks they faced in doing so. It continues to be an inspiration that, even as Putin's regime becomes increasingly intolerant...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?